It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions.
Touchdown, San Diego!
Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do. You do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, heading towards Super Bowl weekend, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast, Hacksaw's Headlines. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host with his opinions from left field, John Riley. We welcome you. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Been in business more than 100 years. You got projects. They got materials. You want ideas. They can be your best friend and your consultant. We invite you to go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. Everybody else in Southern California does. DIXIELINE. Build it, fix it. You will enjoy it in 2026. Is it Super Bowl Sunday kickoff time yet, John? How are you?
This is like the Hacksaw Christmas week, right? Where you're just so fired up because you love covering the whole event and you love going to the Super Bowl party and you love breaking it all down. So this is glorified Hacksaw week.
Yeah. It's not kickoff time yet.
No.
We got a lot to cover. We're going to go a lot of different directions. This is an unbelievably busy 24 to 48 hours in the world of sports. Business point. We do sports talk the way it should be done. We put topics on the table, and then we have opinions with the topics on the table. And then when we're done, we challenge you who are with us on live stream to join us in the Fans Forum chat box. John, how does it work?
Pick a topic, pick up a phone. All right, if you got a question or comment for Hacksaw in the world of sports, just drop your take in the live chat on YouTube, X, or Facebook. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
Fans Forum coming up with your opinions, questions, answers, and statements right at the end of the podcast. So if you're watching us on live stream, you can jump in right now. And as we're going along, covering different stories, if there's something that piques your interest, let us know what it is. Another point of business. You owe us. Okay, we're in our fourth year doing this podcast. You owe us. We're not charging you anything to be part of this podcast, but you owe us. What you owe us, and we're going to start taking receipts, you owe us a thumbs up. You need to hit the follow button, or you need to give us a 5-star rating. That will be your entry fee. That's our reward for you enjoying what we present. So join us, help us make this thing grow. This thing has exploded, but we're trying to package it even more. You owe us. So take the hint, hit those buttons. Stop laughing. Am I right?
Good. No, it's good. It's win-win. Yeah. We provide sports content that they enjoy. Just hit the like button. It's subscribe. You know, what the hell? It's easy to do.
Subscribe, follow, like, and give us a 5-star rating. John, off to the races we go. We're going to do this a little bit differently today because we got a ton of things to break down about Super Bowl Sunday, our Super Bowl preview, and you're gonna have some opinions about what I'm going to ask you segment by segment. So let's get started with the Super Bowl Sunday matchup.
Red hot teams.
Oh, they really are. These are two really good football teams. These are two really complete football teams. These are two driven football teams. Let's just talk very briefly. Seahawks, Patriots. Do you know New England was 8-26 over the prior two seasons? And they are coming to the Super Bowl having won 16 of their last 17. And there's no hocus pocus, anything fluky about this accomplishment. They beat really good defenses, top 5 defenses, the Chargers, Houston, and the Denver Broncos, and then they beat the weatherman on top of it on the road. And we can no longer say easiest schedule in the league. Yeah, that was till we got to mid-January and postseason began. This is a really good New England team. Seattle, 13-1 hot streak. Doesn't get any better than that. They've won 9 in a row. Number 1 scoring defense in the league. But you know the thing that's unique? They may choke you to death with their defense, but hey, if it becomes a shootout, no problem. I mean, they did beat the Rams 38-37 and 31-27 along the way. And this is a team that's really on a roll because they beat a good Rams team, they beat a good 49ers team, and then they beat the Rams again. Two really complete football teams. John, respond. how hot are these guys?
Yeah, they are. I mean, the Seahawks have just been terrific. I mean, all my love is with the Seahawks, you know. West Coast team, journeyman quarterback on his 5th team coming here. I mean, there's a lot to love about the Seahawks here. And frankly, I'm kind of tired of the Patriots and Tom Brady. We had too much of that over the last 20 years.
Okay, that's just the base storyline. Like I say, you need to be impressed with these two teams considering how hot they are. Seattle 13-1, New England 16-1. Now, the important things. What's going to happen game time? Kickoff. And who are going to be the role players making things happen?
Going to look at the coaches here. Defense wins.
Let's talk about VRABEL. Let's talk about Mike McDonald because, good headline, I think defense wins this Super Bowl. Mike VRABEL. Changed the culture, changed the roster, changed the focus, and got a dose of good luck. Hardly any injuries at all in New England. He changed the attitudes of some of these players who have been losers and some of these guys who have been distractions, a.k.a. Stephon Diggs. There's no divas on this team. Everybody gets the football and a chance to contribute. I think the most fascinating thing about his leadership, they don't panic. They figure it out. And the defense keeps them in the game till they can figure it out. Big and physical up front. Bunch of linebackers who can play multiple roles on our Warriors, and a secondary that they have built that just smothers you. And they got Josh McDaniel, forever linked to Belichick, but McDaniel's done a really good job, first with Tom Brady, and obviously now what he's done with Drake May. And they go series by series, no panic. If things don't work out this possession, a defense get the ball back for us, maybe an even better field position, we'll go from there. And field position game is really critical because VRABEL wants to put you on a long field and challenge you to think if you can get down the field to score, and a lot of times you can't. So that's where VRABEL's team is. He's got a world of experience. That's the intangible to this whole thing. You know, a lot of people forget he went to 4 Super Bowls as a linebacker, and a bunch of that under the Belichick flag. So it's going to be interesting. Mike McDonald on the edge defense. They're coming. They're coming at you from all different directions. He's got so many athletes. And what allows them to come with their front seven is they're so strong with athletes who can run in the secondary. Offensive lines like a stone wall. Run the ball? Yes. Protect the quarterback? Yes. And they have come together so quick, together just the last 2 years. It's just amazing what that offensive front is. And they've let Sam Darnold play to his strength. Let it rip. If you make a mistake, no problem. We'll go get the ball back. We're going to give the ball back to you again, and you can go back down the field. They are unique. They don't have fear of Sam Darnold turnover. So McDonald's cut from a little bit different cloth than VRABEL. McDonald's got no experience, though, a.k.a. this weekend. VRABEL does. What do you think of the coaches?
I still can't believe the Tennessee Titans fired Mike VRABEL. That makes no sense at all. I mean, the guy is a leader of men. Don't you think? I mean, he's just a terrific coach. This is his first year, isn't it?
Yes.
With the Patriots. It's unbelievable. Now, Mike McDonald is interesting. I was watching some of the interviews of the players at Media Day, and they had nothing but praise for Mike McDonald. I mean, they were saying this dude really understands what's going on in the game and knows precisely how to position the defense, the offense to get the great result.
I mean, they're very different. There's no doubt about it. But VRABEL's got this world of experience where this is something new for McDonald. Now, McDonald came off the Baltimore Ravens staff with John Harbaugh, so obviously he's had some postseason experience. But this is VRABEL's franchise. So those are the coaches. Let's talk about the people nobody knows about.
The general manager's roster building.
Yeah, let's just talk about the creative genius of John Schneider and obviously Eli Wolf. Seattle's got 13 of their 22 starters they drafted. Schneider drafted the entire offensive line.
Wow.
It's been together there just a couple of years. These are not household names, but I will tell you those who follow the draft and know player personnel know that guys like Charles Cross, Gray Zabel, Isaac Lucas, Sundell. That's a really good offensive front. They got 5 starters on defense that have come from all different places. This is the unique thing, is John Schneider has made deals to get players who are difference makers. Defense, DeMarcus Lawrence, Cowboys. Leonard Williams, Giants. Ernest Jones, Rams. Uchenna Nwasu, Chargers. Julian Love, New York Giants. Plus Darnold, plus Kupp, plus Shaheed. You talk about a guy who has acquired a whole roster just like that, and it's really come together. And Seattle's had some luck, too. No major injuries. The Patriots, that's a different amalgamation. Drafted the kid quarterback. Drafted the young wide receivers. Their left tackle, left guard are first-year starters all off the draft board. Eli Wolf went into the marketplace with the guidance of Mike VRABEL, and they added 9 veteran free agents on defense, led by Milt Williams, who came from the Eagles. Harold Landry, who had been with VRABEL at Tennessee, linebacker. Robert Spillane, they took off the Raider roster. Carlton Davis, been down in Tampa Bay. Starting offensive center, starting right tackle from Baltimore. Eli Wolf has done a good job stockpiling guys that VRABEL wanted to, quote, change the culture. But the job that John Schneider has done, he's not missed on anybody. Wow. And he kind of took a gamble on Darnold, but because Darnold is surrounded by such quality, now they're playing to Darnold's strength, and he's playing with a confidence level he's probably never, ever seen in the NFL. What do you think?
I think it's cool that we break down the general managers. I mean, we don't normally do that sort of thing for any other games. I'll say this. This is a story. I was up in like Santa Barbara like a year or so ago, and there was this really hardcore Patriot fan that was with us, and he's a season ticket holder at Foxborough. And this is right after they drafted Drake May. I remember this is his second year, isn't it?
Yes.
So in his first year, he wasn't really playing much at the beginning of the year, and we're all wondering, why isn't this guy – was it Stidham that was the quarterback that year? And I can't remember who it was. They played their backup. And the guy was explaining to me that the reason that Drake May didn't start immediately is they thought he'd get killed back there because their offensive line was so weak. So my question to you is with the Patriots general manager, what kind of offensive line depth or starters did they acquire like in the last year?
Well, the number one pick is Will Campbell out of LSU. Left tackles, played every down.
But he was getting beat a lot, wasn't he?
His pass protection shaky. Mm-hmm. Left guard was a draft pick. Right tackle Morgan Moses was a swing tackle with the Ravens and did pretty well. He's been a linchpin on the right side, and he's as big as the state of Rhode Island. So they went out, and VRABEL said, I want this guy, I like this guy has the parameters I want from a dimension standpoint, and they went and they got them all. That did have cap money, and Robert Kraft spent a chunk of money. And Kraft, I think, was getting gun-shy because under the Belichick regime, they missed. They missed on draft picks. They kind of missed on Belichick-chosen free agents. But he let VRABEL and Eli Wolf, the son of Ron Wolf, the legendary general manager, make their selections, and he wrote the checks, and they're playing on Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, that's the reason you hire them. I mean, that's why Ron Kraft brought these guys on board. So he's got to trust them.
Yeah. And what John Schneider's done is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's just another dude that we don't hear much about. But yeah, when you go through like all those guys that you're saying they drafted the whole offensive line.
All 5 of them.
Like in the past couple of years, right? So, I mean, those guys are going to grow together and they're going to be ferocious coming up.
And a little bit of lady luck. No catastrophic injuries on either roster. Think about that.
Wow, that's luck, yeah.
Okay, we go from those guys to the keys to the game.
The keys to the game. We can bring up the quarterbacks here. Offense versus defense.
Sam Darnold. Interesting statistical study. When he got blitzed during the regular season, blitz packages and pressures, he threw 8 interceptions. He could not hold up to people in his face. In the playoffs, 4 touchdowns, no picks, no fumbles, only 5 sacks, and this is going against really good defenses. Quarterback rating 122.
Wow.
You talk about growing into a position, most important time of the year, wow. And, of course, they let him, with Clint Kubiak calling plays, they let him push the envelope. They go downfield. I sit there, I watch these games close, and I say, don't throw that into coverage. He throws it into coverage, and he gets a bunch of them in there. He's a big physical specimen. He's got Riverboat Gambler written all over him.
Cool.
Darnold versus the Blitz has struggled. He's going to face a blitz this weekend. Drake May, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 6 fumbles in the playoffs. He's been sacked 15 times. Now, he's a different dimension. He's as big as an oak tree, and he can run. He's bigger and physical like Ben Roethlisberger used to be big and physical when he was a young Steeler quarterback. And the thing is that Josh McDaniels has taught him, read it, react to it, don't panic, and his escape hatch is running the football. He's run for 141 yards in 3 playoff games.
Wow.
You think back to the Charger game. Think back to the Houston game. He broke their back.
He did, yeah.
With his quarterback scrambles. And some were designed draws. Some were just flat out of trouble scrambles down the field that became 13-yard gains. He's really a different type quarterback. Now, burning questions. Patriots, can they run the ball on Seattle's front? I don't think so. New England's got a power back in Ramondre Stevenson, but this Seattle front is a wall. I just don't know. Second question, can the Patriots' kids, left tackle, left guard, hold up with a pass rush, blitz package? No, I don't think so, because they haven't shown the ability to do it in any of these playoff games at all. Question about the Patriots' defense. How do they handle the firepower that Seattle has, led by Jackson Smith and Njigba? My reaction, they double Njigba. You put a cover corner and a safety over the top in Njigba, and then you just tell them, okay, there's Cooper Kupp out there, there's Shaheed out there in single coverage. See if those guys can beat the rest of our defense. Thing is, you got to take Njigba and disrupt his game. And you got the sidelines as a boundary marker, which is like having another defensive back. And Njiba's averaging 18 yards per catch. So it's going to be fascinating to me to see how they line up against the star wide receiver. And then how do the Patriots get guys open against Seattle's back seven? Seattle's back seven's got guys who can run and guys who can cover and guys who can hit and guys that are fearless. So that's interesting. From the Seahawks standpoint, Sam Darnold comes to the line of scrimmage, and you go through your pre-snap reads, and yet whatever language you use alerts your offensive lineman how you're changing the blocking scheme. But what you see pre-snap, I swear to you, John, on a Bible, is not what you're going to see when the ball is snapped. And that's what VRABEL does. They show this look. Your quarterback's at the line of scrimmage with a clock ticking. He makes his calls. There's the snap, and the rush is coming from somewhere you never saw it. And that's how how New England makes its living. Can the Seahawks run the ball against the Patriots' third-ranked run defense? It won't be easy, but I tend to think that they've got enough punch in that running game to do it. Can the offensive line of Seattle stonewall all the stunts and the creative stuff that VRABEL does? Probably. But again, what does Darnold see at pre-snap, and will it be when he's trying to make throws, be that same type defense from what he thought it was going to be before the ball was snapped? And Seattle does so many creative things with their offense. I'm a big formation guy. They run what I called it, jumbo packages. NFL language right now is 12 and 13s, which is 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends, loading the backfield, which usually is a flag that says, we're going to run the damn ball. They don't do it. They show jumbo package, and they throw to Njigba. It's absolutely amazing how they show you one thing and come out and do something exactly opposite. So that jumbo package is going to be fun to watch. And then who wins the chess game? These formations. Motion. They'll run Njigba all over behind the line of scrimmage, try to get mismatches and screw up the defense. So that's going to be fun. So, John, those are the deep thought storylines, game plans, offenses versus defense. I'm just going to be fascinated to see which quarterback survives what the other guy's going to do to him. The other guy's going to do something to both these quarterbacks.
When you said jumbo package, man, I just got this like tidal wave of memories, and it's like jumbo package, the pitches to Natron means, the whole thing. So, okay, now I love the way you broke it down. You talk about strategy. You talk about creative ways that these teams could beat one another. But I still am not sure which quarterback Sam Darnold is. Okay. And so my question is this. So we've obviously seen great progression, a lot more, great results, no doubt. But we didn't see that in the beginning. It was with the Jets. And obviously that was crap organization. Yes. Then he bounced around. He was a backup. And then he had that year in Minnesota. And we were like, holy moly. And then the last 2 games that year, it was a disaster. And now he's back and he's playing great. So what's different from last year? Or were those 2 crazy games with Minnesota just fluke games? So who is Sam Darnold?
I think the way it ended really badly in Minnesota is probably just the end result of Minnesota not having a complete football team. And the deeper you go into postseason or playoffs, more stuff shows up on video. The defensive coordinators will try to work in their favor, in their direction. So Darnold, I don't think, had as good a team in Minnesota around him as he does in Seattle. Now, that being said, because you raised a really smart point, there was a chunk of time in the middle of the season, his game started to do this again.
It did. Yes, you're right. You're right.
Turning it over. But what they've done is they've refined it. And what they've done is they've gotten progressively better and better with their formations and how they use their wideouts. And, okay, you're going double team in Njigba? We're going to Kupp, and we're going to Rashid, and we're going to our tight ends. And what happens is you force the defense out of the formations they had to take the star wide receiver down, because now they're going to start to cover this other stuff, or they're going to run out of these wild formations with their running back. So I just think Seattle has gotten intellectually smarter as the season's gone on, and the team collectively has gotten better and better around Darnold. We are now in January into February. And we get into postseason, you're playing really good defenses. And he has not turned the ball over once in these playoff games. How staggering a stat is that compared to what he was?
Well, it just makes you think. I think it's football IQ, right? Mm-hmm. He's just making better decisions on the field.
Bingo. With the IQ of the head coach and Kubiak, the play caller.
Yeah, here we go, Kubiak. This is a name we're going to hear a lot more about.
Yeah, we will. So there we are. We've broken the Super Bowl down from a lot of different dimensions. Fans Forum chat box is open, looking for NFL fan. Are you picking Patriots? Are you picking Seahawks? What do you think is the key to the game? Do you believe in Darnold? Are you amazed at what Drake May has become? And I'm just absolutely shocked the Philadelphia Eagles are not playing in postseason, or that the Rams are not one of the teams in this game. Fans Forum chat box is open. Join us. And again, the entry price now, you don't have to pay to be on this podcast, but you have to hit the button that says follow, share, subscribe, 5-star rating. Hit all those buttons. It'll help us grow this podcast immensely. Okay, we go from that because we got a lot of stories off the field that we're going to talk about too.
Yeah, this is kind of cool during Super Bowl week. We talk about interesting topics.
Yeah, there are a lot of things going on. The NFL honors ceremony is Thursday night. The induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Obviously, there's still enormous reaction, fallout, conversation. The snub of Robert Kraft, the snub of Bill Belichick. Something a little bit different I'll throw at you. There's so many people who have impacted the National Football League that are always up for a vote. I think there are not enough categories. I think that's a problem. I think what the NFL needs to do is to separate all these people. We have the modern-day superstar who just retired, been retired 5 years, now eligible, the modern-day superstar. They should be in a category alone. There's the senior group who had been on the list, never got in. Put that in a very separate category. There's a contributors category, but it's got too many people, and there's only one pick. You take out the contributors.
What's a contributor?
Owner, general manager, coach. They're all lumped in together.
Really?
So therefore, you have Kraft in the same category as Belichick, as the same category of all the other great coaches that are still out there eligible to be voted. Yeah. So they should separate contributor category and have a separate coaching category.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's no category at all and no consideration given to legendary offensive coordinators. Why would you not have them get consideration? Maybe put them into the coaches category. So that's something there's going to be more discussion. It was really interesting. Deion Sanders said this week, because he went down there I think he was on a Radio Row for one day, the Colorado coach. Now he's disturbed. He is of the opinion that the entry-level requirements have been lowered. He thinks the Hall of Fame should be for the greatest of all time to change the game, not just for somebody who played the game that was good for a group of years.
That's the classic argument.
Okay, so that's where we are. So that's topic one on the Hall of Fame. 18-game schedule. At the end of the day, it has to be negotiated through the union. And Roger Goodell says this is not a certainty. But the last time this conversation came up was when they went to 17 games, and snap of the fingers, it happened. Please understand, everything in the NFL is all about the money, the bank.
Yeah.
And everything in the Players Association is about dollars and cents. Now, the union responded this week at their own press conference by saying, this is a very complex issue. We must negotiate players' health, players' recovery time, the impact on the quality of the game if you make them play 18 games, the ability to have 2 bye weeks, the fact you're now making all these teams globetrot and play all these international games. There are going to be 9 international games this coming football season. And by the way, there has to be a dollar sign attached to anything with 18 games. It's still all about the bank. It's not going to happen for 2026. We're going to have to negotiate to get to 2027. Third topic, Rooney Rule. Ooh, hot button. Touch a nerve here. 10 coaching openings. 1 minority hired. No African Americans named head coaches. Robert Salah is Lebanese. He gets a Tennessee Titans.
He doesn't count?
Well, he does count as I view it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I went back and checked. 10 openings, 1 minority hired. 12 minorities were interviewed for jobs. 1 pulled himself out. That was Mike McDaniel, who surprisingly decided I'll be the Chargers coordinator rather than wait to see if I get hired to be a head coach. Of the 12 that were interviewed who were African Americans, 7 had been hired previously and been fired with really bad records.
Yeah.
Now, I think that the field was impacted a little bit because 2 hot candidates that could have been interviewed elected not to. Marcus Freeman pulled out, saying, I'm staying at Notre Dame. And James Franklin at Penn State, who was going to get interviews, stepped away and took the job at Virginia Tech. So I guess the burning question, is the Rooney Rule made progress? Because the rule is, John, you own a team. You have to interview 2 blacks if you're going to hire a general manager, or 2 minorities if you're going to hire a head coach. If you're hiring an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, you have to hire 2 minorities each of those positions. So the Rooney Rule, is it being applied correctly, or are we just interviewing blacks to check off the box? It's a hot point, really bullet point issue. But the issue that I have is the 7 marquee guys that were veteran coaches that they had interviewed, African Americans, already had jobs and failed miserably. Failed in Atlanta, failed in Arizona, failed wherever they were. So those are the best minority candidates out there, but the track record of real failure. And the other question, you own the team. You should have the right to hire whoever you want to hire.
Right.
So that's where we are on that. And the last topic, instant replay. It is now being called throw the flag rule. They're going to debate this competition committee. I don't know if it will be put into effect for 2026, but it's going to be debated. And the debate is, this game is so big, so fast, so furious. Officials miss calls. You got the technology in the booth upstairs. Let the replay booth have the power to look at a play and see if there was a face mask. See if there was a late helmet hit. See if there was a cheap shot on the quarterback after the ball was away. See if there was a late hit away from the ball that could have been dangerous play. So you have the ability through technology to have the replay booth evaluate this special play and then buzz right down to the referee and say, throw the flag, you missed the call, that was face mask, that was helmet hit, that was late hit quarterback, that was cheap shot away from the play. Throw the flag. We've debated that. I think when you got the technology, you do everything in humanly power, make sure you get all the calls correct. Currently, replay booth will look at a play and can message down to the referee, pick up that flag, that was not a penalty. I think they should have the power to throw the flag if there was something happened that occurred that the referees missed. So, John, this is off the field. You tell me. Different categories Hall of Fame? 18-game schedule? Good, bad, safe? Or is it just all about the money? Rooney will? Or is it just check the box rule and instant replay?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the Hall of Fame thing makes sense to me, having those categories. But of course, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, he wants the standard so high that he's the only one in the Hall of Fame because he is the greatest of all time. Now, I love Coach Prime, and I wish him nothing but the best. But I think of the Hall of Fame as like a museum, and you need to have you can't have like a hard line. You've got to be able to tell the story of your sport. And that may involve, like in the case of baseball, I always think of the classic example is Don Sutton. How did he get in the Hall of Fame? He's just a guy who's been around forever, but he's part of the game, So I don't know. The standard is fine. I mean, we don't need a monkey with that. I wouldn't raise it. The 18-game schedule, my hunch is they're going to eventually get to this. They're going to eventually get to a point where the players' union is going to get what they want. If the players' union gets enough more, the guaranteed money, then of course the players are going to do it. But I remember this sport was only 12 games a year back in the 60s and early 70s. So it's incredible that it's gone to 18. But I wonder if they did that, because injuries and wear and tear is a legit problem, but would they maybe get a little bit more loose with how they manage their injured lists? So they can have a guy, play a third of the season. In the middle third, he might be hurt. In the final third, he's playing again. So they can kind of optimize that roster more flexibly.
What they're talking about from the union perspective is we want more than a 58-man roster.
Yeah, exactly.
We want 63 full-time jobs, and then we want a developmental squad on the side.
Yeah.
Now, that sounds easy, except that if you go to a 63-man roster, that means everybody's on full contracts with bonuses and everything. So it's a bigger financial investment from the owners because there's be 63 rather than where we are with the developmental squad, that's low base pay.
Well, just do the math. I mean, we know what the advertising revenue is going to be for one more game. And, you figure that you can account for, 5 or 6 new roster additions. And then there's still a lot more money left over to pay all the other fixed expenses and a few bucks for the shareholders.
Okay.
I want to comment on Rooney Rule, too. Now, it's just a shame that we have to talk about this. You just think that people would be evaluated based on the content of their character and not the color of their skin. But it seems like the NFL has already made fantastic progress on this issue. Art Shell obviously broke through and was like I think he was the first minority coach, right? But, there have been, we have Aaron Glenn with the Jets, and he's getting going. We've had a lot of other successful coaches. I think Freeman definitely would have been hired, Notre Dame coach, if he agreed to go in. But in the end, these teams want to win. That is the primary objective. If you win, the fans show up. So I think that I question at what point is the Rooney Rule going to be no longer necessary? How do you know you've crossed that line? And maybe have we already crossed that line to the point that we can trust that the system is going to give every candidate a fair shot?
Where are the candidates coming from? The greatest African-American coach, I think, of our modern times, Tony Dungy.
Oh, yeah.
And we've hardly had anybody since that point in time that reached that echelon. And all these coaches, we use the term recycled, but these guys have had jobs and failed miserably. A couple of years ago, I wrote a column on my website when everybody was bitching about no black coaches. And I listed like 8 black head coaches who wound up going 12-28.
Yeah, but it's just that has nothing to do with the color of their skin. It has to do with their coaching expertise and what they bring
organizational failure.
Or the organizational failure. But look at Robert Saleh. I mean, you say he's Lebanese. I think he counts as a minority candidate, yes. But he was not very successful with the Jets. And he kind of comes back, does some more defensive coordinating in a solid organization, gets another shot. So Raheem Morris, maybe he's going to cycle back here in a year or two. I mean, I think a lot of those recent minority coaches that were hired, I think are going to come back. They always do. I mean, Anthony Lynn is coaching, not as a head coach, but he's still in the league.
Yeah, that's what we are. And throw the flag instant replay?
Oh, anything you can do to get it right. If they want to throw a flag out of the replay booth, up in the skybox, whatever it takes, just get it right. Like that Matthew Stafford face mask should have been a penalty. And we could cite a million other examples, and I don't have a problem with any delays.
Okay, you're an NFL football fan. We've covered the Super Bowl. Now we're talking about big topics off the field because we do sports talk the way it should be done. Invite you to join us. A lot of hot buttons here. Like to hear what you've got to say. Be reasonable with your assessment. Just tell us what you've got to add.
Be reasonable.
Yeah, be reasonable. Good luck with that proposal. We're not done. Just briefly, a couple of other storylines. College football. Ooh, what an interesting day at San Diego State, and what an interesting week at the Pac-12 and the Mountain West Conference level.
Yeah, Sean Lewis, big press conference. He's added some talent.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I sat there with Sean Lewis in his press conference talking about National Letter of Intent Day. And, I mean, this is a new world. This is a different world. This is not the world he grew up playing in, not the world he started coaching in. He just talked about his world is so different over the last 5 years since COVID than it is now. And not just COVID related, but obviously transfer portal, NIL, conference expansion, conferences folding, teams going to different conferences. His recruiting list got 51 new names, 51 new players. It's almost like he's going to be coaching an expansion team again. I wrote a big column on it today on my website. If you're an Aztec fan, friend, alum, foe, check LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Read my one man's opinion column about what I wrote about this coach and the Aztec program. But unique, eclectic mix of players. Now, he didn't agree with my statement. I asked the first question. You've changed your philosophy. You are getting players you can afford to sign. You're getting what bounce backs from big schools you can get. And you're getting kids from 1AA, Division II, that you think you can coach up and make quality players at a group of 6 school. He didn't want to answer it that way. He said, our philosophy hasn't changed, get best players, blah, blah, blah. Now, I see what he's brought in. So anyhow, he brought in 8 transfers from Power 4 conferences, a couple from Oregon, starter from Oregon State, the quarterback out of Kentucky, the kid they're going to develop, offensive tackle who played at Indiana this year. He brought in 6 from the group of 6 conferences, schools, including a transfer defensive tackle from started at Fresno State, and brought in some kids from 1AA Big Sky Conference and, quote, coach them up. Name tags. Hi, I'm Coach Lewis. What's your name? Everybody should wear name tags. 27 transfers, 21 out of high school. Big disappointment to me. Only 2 out of San Diego. The San Diego hotbed of football has not been sold on what Sean Lewis and San Diego State is doing. Quarterback from Kentucky, Stone Saunders. Wide receiver and a safety from Oregon. As I said, offensive tackle from Indiana. 2 offensive linemen from Michigan State. And a bunch of starters who stood out at places like Western Illinois, Sacramento State, Western Colorado, Idaho State, and a couple of JUCOs, including a wide receiver caught 70 passes last season. So I was really, really pleased. His people, the infrastructure, they know how to attack the transfer portal. Granted, they get different kids. They're not getting the type of kids that are going to LSU and Ole Miss, Ohio State. So now the next challenge, coach them up. It was an interesting press conference. Meanwhile, he made a really interesting statement. Again, I don't get to see all these rankings. He said San Diego State, of the schools now going to the Pac-12, had the second best success in the transfer portal of anybody else.
Hell yeah.
Boise, Fresno, whomever. And he said they were ranked, the Aztecs are ranked inside the top 10 nationally in retainment.
Wow.
Now, they had 25 kids go into the portal, but only 5 are marquee kids. They only lost 5 key players. But he said philosophically, this is the cost of business. We develop good kids. They're going to get taken from us. Losing players at this point is the cost of business at our level. And he says, no one still has a handle on this chaos. Nobody knows how to do this correctly, but we're doing it as good as we can, and we think we're kind of ahead of the curve. They say they know how to navigate the portal. I kind of tend to agree. So that's Aztec football. Pac-12, they just concluded a week of meetings with the commissioner, all the new schools, and not much has leaked out. They're struggling to determine how they're going to schedule football, because at this point, you're going to play everybody. So that means you're going to have 7 conference games. What are you going to do with the other 5? Where are you going to go get the other 5? That's a big issue. Somebody's got this far-fetched idea, well, we'll play Fresno State twice. One game will count as a league game, the other will count as non. That's stupid.
That is stupid.
Yeah. So they've got to sort through that. The other thing that's leaked out, and this is not what was expected, they got 3 network partners now, and this is, quote, under the Pac-12 banner, but they're not going to get the kind of rights fee money they thought. There was a feel at one point. San Diego State got $3 million last year from CBS as part of the Mountain West. There was a point that they thought 10, 12 million per school with the rights fee. It's not. It may be 8. It might be 7. I was told it's going to be a lot less than anybody thought. And then there's the Mountain West, all the people left behind, my friends at Wyoming and New Mexico and Colorado State and UTEP coming in.
No, Colorado State's going to the
That's
Pac-12.
a Colorado State, I'm sorry. But you know what I'm referencing.
Yeah, I know. Air Force.
Air Force. The ones left behind. They put together a package of 3 networks and a streaming partner. They had hoped big money. Their rights fee is only going to go to $3.5 million. It's just going to go up a little bit from what it was under the old Mountain West. That's why this lawsuit, the poaching fee lawsuit, is so critical for the Mountain West survival, because they promised Vegas and a bunch of other people expanded paydays, and they have to win this lawsuit for that expanded payday. Otherwise, Vegas and El Paso and Wyoming are all left behind with a $3.5 million TV deal rather than what they thought was going to be much bigger. So there we are. You want to talk about the red and black? You want to talk about the dollars in the Pac-12 and Mountain West? The floor is yours.
It's interesting because, you said Sean Lewis hasn't, worked this hard or had this much of a challenge, for the last 5 years. It's been like this. And, didn't you see that Montana coach, stepping down?
Bobby Howe quit last night, ex-Aztec coach.
Because he said, it's no longer fun because of the transfer portal, the NIL, and everything else. And so to see these coaches at a group of 6, I guess we should say now, try to navigate through this, this is like uncharted waters.
Yep.
They have to kind of blaze their own trail here. It's cool to see that Sean Lewis is like this young intellect, that's kind of not only trying to figure out the secret sauce with the X and O's, but how to work this NIL thing to San Diego State and kind of have a strategy, on how he can pick up the right kind of bounce back guys. But, you were saying there's Indiana, Oregon is in there. So, there are guys that probably didn't play last year, but if they were recruited to those schools, they've got potential.
I agree.
So that's great to hear. The Pac-12 and the media deal is just every time, everything about this is just so disappointing. Do you think, hypothetically, if the 2 leagues would have merged, that financially they would have been better off, including the teams that are in the Pac-12?
I don't. If you say merge, would that mean Oregon State, Washington State leaving up there and coming here, being part of the Mountain West? Because that's effectively what would have happened. Now, if they've merged, right. But are you going to take Air Force in New Mexico and Wyoming and move it to the Pac-12?
Well, because the Mountain West added a bunch of really small schools, right?
Yeah.
So if you just went to the existing Mountain West, add the Washington State, Oregon State, my question is could the payout be more than $7 or $8 million, which is what it is?
I don't think so, because it'd be like Mountain West 2.0, even though you got the Pac-12 banner above your head.
So it's still that it's like getting this separation of the haves and have-nots. Yeah. And, you're seeing that revenue figure that you were hoping for is dwindling. And meanwhile, the Aztecs made this huge investment into, Snapdragon Stadium, and they want it to be a success. It seems like, San Diego State is pushing all the right buttons, but the timing, the whole world is flipped on its head in college football with COVID and with the NIL.
Yeah. So this thing is unresolved, and there's a lot of financial trauma here still to be sorted out.
Huge.
Pac-12 Mountain West. You're an Aztec fan, friend, alum? Show me your red and black, your response to what I believe Sean Lewis has accomplished. I full disclosure, I enjoy exchanging gunfire with him.
Oh, yeah.
I love asking questions, getting answers. He's so different from other people that have preceded him. The other people were pretty good coaches, but this is a new era, and I think he's ahead of the curve in terms of navigating everything at San Diego State.
So it appears.
Okay. That's all things. Feel free, jump on board. Hey, we get to halftime. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Been in business for more than 100 years. You got projects, they got materials. You want materials, they got ideas. You want help, they can be your best friend. John, this is what DIXIELINE is all about. This is pretty snazzy.
Yeah, it's pretty snazzy. Yeah, this is like custom home building. This is what's in the video here. And you'll see a lot of these contractors that'll like maybe build 2 or 3 homes in a cul-de-sac or out on a large piece of property, and they'll build these really nice custom homes. DIXIELINE is perfect for working with contractors in that space and home builders, because every one of these jobs, it's not like, you got 200 of the same identical house that you're building in a neighborhood. These are custom built, and DIXIELINE will actually get all of the wood, the lumber, all custom cut just for your job and have it delivered to your job site. So, we talk about DIXIELINE Lumber and what the great things it offers homeowners, but for the contractor, for the builder, man, that is the place to go.
DIXIELINE, go to DIXIELINE.com, just see all the things they have to offer. We are at halftime, our Thursday podcast, Super Bowl preview. Just a reminder, when we're done, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, we invite you to join us. It's called Fans Forum. And again, for people storming on the live stream, John, where do they go? How do they get involved in Fans Forum?
Yeah, they're storming on Omaha Beach here to get into Fans Forum. So this is your chance to get involved. Just go to the live chat on YouTube, on X, on Facebook. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
And just a reminder, we do this podcast. We're in our 4th year doing this thing. We do sports talk the way it should be done. We don't charge fees for you to watch this podcast. But effective today, you are being charged with a responsibility. You got to hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, hit the button that gives us a 5-star rating. That's the way you can help us grow this. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching. Do it while you're watching. Just a reminder, I write about sports every day of the week. LeeHacksawHamilton.com, sports website. You won't believe the volume of information there. Read my one man's opinion column every day. Today it's on all things San Diego State football. Want you to share, subscribe, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, then you'll get the alerts, because John and I put a lot of extra videos up on the YouTube channel during the course of the week. Join me on social media, Hacksaw1090 on Twitter, or just write in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button so you can participate in all of Hacksaw's mini poll questions. So those are the ways to stay involved. John, let's go to the second half, because we not only know all things NFL football, we are baseball-centric, and we got an unbelievable group of stories to talk about, too, in the NBA. John, where do you want to start?
We'll go with the Padres here. Have they done enough, Lee?
Nice question. I guess I'll pose this question to Padre fan out there. Is this the same team as last year? Is this a good enough team as last year? I mean, this is a team that goes to spring training next weekend with no Dylan Cease, no Robert Suarez, no Luis Ariz, and no Yu Darvish. And they haven't replaced any of them. So please tell me, is this the same team that won 90 or 93 last 2 years, or are you concerned? Now, the Padres have just signed a 21st free agent. Did so last night. Miguel Andujar, once upon a time really promising prospect with the Yankees, then was let go. Defense fell apart, stopped hitting. bounced around from the A's, went to the Reds. Last year, hit .318 with 10 home runs. He can hit, not much of a glove. Yankees got rid of him because he was deficient at second, short, and third. He's evolved as maybe a part-time first baseman, more part-time right-handed designated hitter. We'll see if he can hit in San Diego like he did before. Padres have historically, recently, been able to go find bench role players who contribute. But have they done enough? I mean, outside of journeyman bench sitter, pinch hitter Jose Miranda, who came from Minnesota, outside of ex-Seattle starter Marco Gonzalez, who was hurt, or Tristan McKenzie, once upon a time, was a pretty promising Cleveland pitcher. Outside of those guys, there's really nobody there that is going to impact this roster. And by the way, with the signing of Andujar, their payroll as of this morning is now $224 million. $9 million tax on top of that. They have no more money to use. That's why they desperately need Yu Darvish's $14 million right now to see if there's somebody they can go out and sign, rent another pitcher, whether that's Chris Bassett or somebody else. But that's where we are with Padre baseball. So he asked the question, have they done enough? I'll ask the question, you don't really believe this is as good a team as we had a year ago or 2 years ago, do you? So Padre fans are invited to join in. John, response?
Oh, I think this roster is better today than the one 365 days ago.
How?
Because they had Yuli Gurriel on the starting roster. They had Jason Hayward, Martin Maldonado. You had, Kyle Hart was your number 5. And then, Cease was up and down all year. Arise wasn't Arise. Darvish was hurt most of the year. And so, those guys were traveling to Peoria at this time of the year last year. But I kind of feel good about this. This Miguel Andujar signing is optimistic. He's not going to, win a batting title or anything, but he's a nice piece to hit off left-handed pitching.
He's any different than Jose Iglesias.
Well, but better. Now, granted, not better defensively, but certainly better with the bat. So, I don't think Preller's done. I think, you want to add, ideally, one more starter and one more guy that has some slug. Where's it
going to come from and how are you going to pay for him?
Well, I know. That's the big question. But this deal for Andujar for $4 million, people are saying that's actually a pretty sweet deal. That's the kind of deal that Preller needs to make because it's affordable.
They have no money left.
Well, you were saying that before Miguel Andujar was signed.
Well, they added him and they have no money left. Okay, so I'm on this side of the table because you don't have Robert Suarez and you don't have Cease and you don't have Arise and you don't have Darvish.
Well, we didn't have Mason Miller at the beginning of the year. Now we have him. He's better than Suarez.
Okay. Do you side with me? Do you side with him? Fans Forum chat box is open. Let's go from that topic to the next topic. Or do we have to do this one?
We do. You got a lot of pushback from last week's episode.
That's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. The Dodgers are refusing comment amongst reports. They've been invited to go celebrate the World Series championship again with your president, and that the roster's split. That a lot of guys don't want to go to the White House and stand in another photo op with your president, because that would be a sign they agree with everything that your president is doing. And that includes a bunch of the players' Hispanic Caribbean background on the Dodger roster. Tough call. Who knows when they would go? They're in spring training camp. They're not going to go then. We got the WBC. They're not going to go then. So it would probably be whenever they play the Washington Nationals if they wanted to go. So, the players last year had questions about wanting to be next to your president. But Clayton Kershaw held a team meeting and talked them into this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to experience the White House. Well, they went and they did it. But now things have changed because of all the issues that your president has done. So what do you think? What do you think the Dodgers should do? Touchy item, or is the media just overplaying it?
Well, it's sad that we have to have this discussion, too, because it used to be back in the day.
It was important.
It was, and it was very politically neutral. It wasn't like people were going to say one thing or another. But when did this start to become a thing when teams would go to the White House? Is that like in the last 10 or 20 years, or has it been going on for decades? I
would say maybe since the Richard Nixon era, it became an event. And then it became more an event because now they bring in the NCAA football champion, or they bring in the NCAA basketball champion, or
Do you remember, I think it might have been in Trump's first term, and he brought the NCAA football team into the White House, and he just catered it with McDonald's. Yeah. He had like Big Macs and in the little containers and everything else. I don't know. I mean, if granted, on one level, I get the Clayton Kershaw thing, try not to make this political. You're going to the White House, see the President of the United States. That's an honor for everyone involved. I get it. But if I were the Dodgers, I'd say, hey, man, we just saw you last year. Hope to see you for the three-peat, and they can kind of sidestep this whole thing. But in the end, I bet you they're going to go.
Only time will tell. And for those responding, hey, I am going to express opinions about the sports story of the day when it intersects with the White House. And do not sit there and berate me that I'm not entitled to my opinion about what's right or versus what's wrong with his president.
Already people in fans forum that are getting
First Amendment rights relate to you, relate to me, and should relate to the victims in Minnesota. End of conversation. Third baseball topic.
Oh, yeah, we get to talk about our Angels. 21 free agents.
Yeah, they just had another one overnight. The Angels have brought in now 6 pitchers, all of them with injury history, but all of them with some form of accomplishment before they got hurt. I happen to think there is an upside to Grayson Rodriguez, who came from the Orioles, Alex Manoah, if they can figure him out, the ex-Blue Jay, Jordan Romano, the ex-Toronto and Philly reliever. I guess the burning question, how much can you physically get out of Drew Pomerantz, Kirby Yates, and the one they just signed, Brent Suter, of the Cincinnati Reds? Now, in terms of everyday players, they still got holes a bunch of different places on the roster. They traded Taylor Ward, the 38 home run guy, away. They're going to try to replace him with Josh Lowe, who hit 220 in Tampa, that the Rays got rid of. Jose Siri hit 201 with the Mets, who New York did not bring him back. And Jameer Candelario, who the Reds had, hit 113. These are the guys the Angels have brought in this offseason. All this plus all these pitchers with injuries. Try to be optimistic. I mean, they've tried really hard. I mean, they brought a lot of guys in, all at real low prices, maybe thinking they can hit on a couple of these guys and be difference makers. But we're talking about somebody just 2 years ago was 99-loss team and hadn't been in the playoffs in a decade. Does anybody really think out there that any of these guys are going to propel this team back into postseason play? A lot of these guys have washed out other places or are aged and infirmed. My Statue of Liberty quote, send me your homeless. They're all at Anaheim Stadium.
Aged and infirmed.
John, go ahead and respond.
Oh, man, this is tough, man. I mean, if you're an Angel fan going through all this, I mean, I think it seems like, you sign enough of these guys and maybe you hit on 2 or 3 of them, right? And they have like this bounce back, comeback year. But in the end, it's just like, what are they doing? What's going on? It doesn't make sense, the whole thing. So I don't know. I don't know what to say.
And they've got all the Anthony Rendon money that's been deferred.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Have not spent that. Their farm system is ranked 28th in baseball.
See, they need like a divine intervention, like the movie Angels in the Outfield, right? They need some sort of magic to happen to make that team like relevant again.
Okay, that's all things baseball. You got an opinion? Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from that to what just happened in the last 48 hours in the NBA.
NBA trade deadline, it's blowing up.
Just absolutely amazing. Blockbuster trades. I keep a track of this. My eyes are falling out of my head. Since Wednesday, 26 trades in the NBA. And then one big one that did not get made. We're going to try to run through this list for you very quickly. The burning question going to today's trade deadline at noon. Would Giannis stay in Milwaukee or would he be moved in a mega package? Early this morning, Milwaukee notified everybody. They're keeping Giannis. He stays. Everything around him has fallen apart. Bad organization, aging team, etc. It was interesting in the final hours, just before Milwaukee made the announcement in the early morning hours today, they talked about a deal with Golden State that would also put the Lakers in as a third team in the package. Giannis would have gone to Golden State for 2 number ones Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green. They took Jimmy Butler out. They put Draymond Green in. Green would accept the deal. Then Green was going to be sent to the Lakers in a separate transaction for draft picks. Draymond wearing Laker colors, that added dimension of toughness. But it did not happen because Milwaukee just backed out of the deal in the early morning hours today. They also talked to Miami. They talked to the Knickerbockers. They talked extensively to Minnesota. Minnesota might have been a landing spot, but McDaniel and Rudy Gobert had to be part of the deal, plus number ones. And it was interesting. Alex Rodriguez is now the decision maker because he's a majority owner of the Timberwolves. He backed away. He didn't pull the trigger.
A-Rod
had to sign off on the deal. He did not.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyhow, Giannis stays in Milwaukee. That's the big story. Now, he could be traded in the offseason, probably will be traded because he has formally asked to be traded. The one that was traded was Anthony Davis. Where he was traded shocked me. And I'll tell you, he's got to be a state in shock. He goes from a legendary Laker franchise to the Mavericks to the god-awful Washington Wizards who've been down forever.
Wow.
Dallas, they get a 1, 3 number twos, Chris Middleton, and 3 other players. They can get, I don't think they got enough for Anthony Davis. Washington gets AD. What do they get? Well, 10-time All-Star. But in 1 year, since the trade to Dallas for Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis played 29 games in 1 year. Anthony Davis had 5 different injuries in 1 year. And Washington inherits $58 million next year and $62 million option the following year on his contract. Washington also got D'Angelo Russell, a couple of other young players. So Washington, in a span of 2 weeks, first traded for Trae Young out of Atlanta and now trades for Anthony Davis. And they've got a lot of young players that they've drafted that are trying to learn to play at this level. But boy, AD's got to be in a state of shock. He goes from all the banners in the purple and gold in L.A. through Dallas to Washington, which is like a ghetto team. Jeez, what a nightmare. So that's that. Golden State, they got rid of the headache. They got themselves another headache. This one really surprised me. Golden State been trying to move Jonathan Kuminga all season. They finally found a taker. They shipped Kuminga and three-point veteran guard Buddy Hield go to the Atlanta Hawks. They get Kristaps Porzingis, big 7-foot shooting center forward.
Interesting.
He goes to the Warriors along with his $30 million expiring contract. Golden State is able to retain Draymond Green. But Porzingis has a history of injury. He has a history of viral infections. He's got a digestive problem that has knocked him out more games than he's played in the last couple of years. Doesn't play a hell of a lot of defense either. That's kind of a weird trade. Kuminga's got such big upside, but obviously he's a basket case and he's chronically unhappy and he's not a complete basketball player. I looked it up. His defensive metrics are god-awful in the NBA. He might average 18 points per game, but what he gives up on the other end is shocking. So Steve Kerr no longer has that headache, but he's got Porzingis. And Porzingis has bounced all over the place. He was a Dallas Maverick, and he went to Boston in a mega deal. And he's just been traded a whole pile of times. He's just not the same player we thought when he came out of Europe. So that's that. Clippers. My God, what a house cleaning. Kawhi Leonard has been left behind. There's nobody left. The Clippers today, right before the deadline, traded Ivica Zubac, their star center, Kobe Brown, young developing shooting guy, to Indiana for guard Ben Mathurin, forward Isaiah Jackson, 2 number ones and a number 2. Clippers might not win a game the rest of the season now. This came on the heels. The Zubac to Indiana trade came a day after they traded James Harden to Cleveland. Now, I don't understand the Cavaliers, why you would want to inherit his contract, his attitude, his style, because everything has to run through him. The Cavaliers gave up Darius Garland, pretty good young guard, but he seems to have had a chronic toe problem. So they got an injured player back for James Harden, but they've rid themselves of the style of play that Harden wanted to play compared to what Tyronn Lue wanted to run. And then they rid themselves of Chris Paul. He goes to the Toronto Raptors in a deal for a number 2 draft pick, and it clears $7 million in cap space. So here the Clippers, Ivica's gone, Harden's gone, Kawhi's there by himself. Hi, my name's Kawhi Leonard. What's your name? You just came to this team?
Yeah.
God, that's awful. Memphis, don't understand this. At this hour, Memphis still has your guy, Ja Morant.
Really?
Stuck with him. Lowered the asking price. Still couldn't get rid of him. But Memphis does not have its superstar young forward, Jaren Jackson. He went to the Utah Jazz in an 11-player transaction. Jackson and 4 players. Jazz gave up 3 number 1 picks, young rookie Walter Clayton, and 4 other players. I mean, dude, unbelievable 11-player transaction. Chicago, 3-team deal with Charlotte and Oklahoma City. The big story there, Colby White, pretty good scoring guard, Bulls, and Mike Conley. They both wind up going to the Charlotte Hornets. Lakers, after not getting Draymond Green, Lakers turn around. They get 3-point shooter Luke Kennard. He comes from the Atlanta Hawks for guard Gabe Vincent and a number 2. This guy hits 49% of his 3-point shots, averages 8 points per game. He's not great defensively, but then again, nobody's playing defense in L.A. But he'll help them in terms of being another scoring option. They're still stuck with Dalton Knecht, who they obviously gave up on and have made a mistake in the draft. So, John, like I said, 26 saves in about 3 days. This all started on Wednesday through noon today. I thought my head was going to fall off my shoulders. So I'll just ask you your response, Giannis, your response, Anthony Davis going to the ghetto with the Washington Wizards, what Golden State just did, house cleaning with the Clippers, and like or dislike the Lakers.
Wow. Okay. So, first of all, the Giannis thing was surprising, you know?
You should take notes.
Yeah, well, I probably should. It was the hypothetical of Draymond in a deal going to the Lakers. I mean, as a Warriors fan, it would be like, it's awful. I don't want to see Draymond there, but that would actually be a good fit for the Lakers.
I think so.
They could use a guy like that. So, anyways, the Giannis is a little bit of a soap opera, right? You know, and here's another chapter of that. Anthony Davis, man, I mean, that guy... I don't know. I mean, imagine if you're a Mavericks fan. I mean, you just got your heart torn out with Luka, and then you got Davis, and now Davis is gone. He barely played.
You got Cooper Flagg in a bucket full of number 1 picks.
Yeah, so I mean, like, what do you have to show for the Luka deal? That's what I'm wondering. You know, and the Warriors, Kuminga, yeah, they've been shopping him the whole time. It's too bad they couldn't make that one work. But, you know, Porzingis, I remember when he there was a time when he was like, the real deal.
He was going to be the heir apparent to Dirk Nowitzki. He started in Dallas.
And then didn't he go to the Knicks, or was it Boston?
He was in Boston.
He was. I mean, for some reason I was thinking there was one team he went to and he had like health issues. I don't know, his knees or something.
Well, it's more recently. He's had digestive problems and some type of virus issue.
Yeah, that's strange. Yeah. You know, that is strange. And, you know, Kawhi just kind of looking around the locker room. Because do they still have John Collins and who was the guy, Lopez? Do they still have, was it Brook Lopez?
Yes. But they gave up Zubac, who was a real favorite of the fans and had made himself a really legitimate guy. But they did get number 1s and 2s in part of the package. But this is for an aging Kawhi. They're not going to win for a couple years.
Everything that Steve Ballmer's tried just hasn't worked. Yeah.
Or gotten close and hasn't worked.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't matter if it's Paul George or James Harden. And by the way, I think Harden went to the Cavs because Donovan Mitchell wanted some kind of help. So I think this is a way to kind of stroke Mitchell.
As long as Harden gets his 21 shots per game.
Yeah, well.
Because the whole concept of their offense will change.
Yeah, it will.
So that's where we are. You're a pro basketball fan. We do cover it all, don't we, on this podcast? Jump on board. Your fans forum is open for business. Speaking of trades, we're not done. We told you this was going to happen. I told you so.
You love saying that. Yeah, the Kings got this guy from the Rangers.
I'll tell you what, it was a stunner. There were 5 teams bidding to get the New York Rangers leading scorer, and the Kings got Artemi Panarin. They paid a price. They gave up what's going to be a number 2 draft pick, and they gave up their top minor league prospect, Liam Greentree, a kid that's playing in the Ontario Hockey League. And they turned around, and I don't know where the money in the checking account's coming from. They signed Panarin to a 2-year, $22 million extension, which is $11 million per year, which is almost what he was making there. But they add a 30-goal scorer at age 31. To me, they're waving the flag. We're going for broke. We're going to try to be the best team in the NHL Western Conference, which is pretty damn hard because Colorado and Dallas are in the conference. But the Kings, they're like 29th in the league in scoring, so they go get Panarin, who's a sniper. But, boy, that's a hell of a price. And I thought about this morning. Kopitar, Kempe, Fiala, Doughty, they got a lot of miles on them, and they're all making mega money, and now they add a 31-year-old sniper. I mean, they're going to be up against the cap for the rest of their life, and they have no assets in the future now, so they're going for broke right there. I give the Kings credit. Ducks are in on the bidding, but the Ducks did not want to trade away more of their young guys what the Rangers were demanding. And I don't even know if the Rangers got fair price, although a number 2 pick, and Greentree's got very good credentials in junior hockey. But they got Panarin out of there. What do you think?
Yeah, you got to appreciate that. When you see a team that's going all in and they already have like an old roster and they add another like proven guy, yep. I mean, that means they're all in. I mean, if you're a Kings fan, you're fired up for that. And it's kind of good. You know, the Ducks kind of have their own different strategy here. They're kind of building from within. So good on these guys. Let's see if this is Panarin. Hopefully he can like change the fortunes.
Well, if he scores goals, he's going to help them because they really scuffle to put the puck in the back of the net. You're a hockey fan. Fans Forum chat box is open. What do you think about Panarin going to L.A.? We go from that. Last topic on the table before the fans take over the rest of this podcast.
The high-speed sports wire. We got a deal in Detroit.
A lot of stories. This is all coming out of Detroit. Tarek Skubal beat the Tigers in arbitration this morning. Hearing was yesterday. Pretty nasty, I heard. Tarek Skubal wins $32 million. They had offered 16.
Wow.
So he beat their brains out. It's an all-time record. Now, they may still trade him at the deadline, etc. But what I find really weird is hours before the arbitrator turned in his final decision on the case, they went out and they signed Framber Valdez of the Houston Astros to a record $38 million a year contract. Valdez, 3 years, $115 million. Now, he's a late developer as a starter. His record's 81-52 in the majors. What I don't understand is why would you lowball Skubal, who's been phenomenal 2 years in a row at a young age? Why would you lowball one of your own and then turn around and give $38 million all-time record to a pitcher who's never thrown a pitch for you? Why would you do business that way? I mean, Skubal's record has just been spectacular. His career record in the last 2 years, 31-10.
Wow.
469 strikeouts in 387 innings. And you lowballed him, and then you gave Valdez $38 million per year? So Detroit's pitching staff's really going to be fun to watch, but why would you treat Skubal that way? One other Detroit story. Mickey Lolich has passed away. Legendary left-handed pitcher. Back in the mid-'60s into the '70s. One of the aces of their staff. Hero, 1968 World Series. You know, I always talked about the greatness of Bob Gibson, St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
Mickey Lolich in the '68 World Series. His teammate was Denny McLain, who won 31 games. And they got to the World Series in the playoffs. Denny McLain fell apart. Mickey Lolich won 3 of the 4 World Series games.
Wow.
Through complete games. And he beat Bob Gibson in Game 7 of the '68 World Series for Detroit. He's just passed away at age 85. Career record, 220 wins, 192 losses. He was a really, really good pitcher. So it's all things Detroit Tiger baseball. This has been a horrid day, horrid week in sports, in the media. Washington Post laid off 300 of their 800 employees. I mean, corporate-wide wipeout. Folded the entire sports department. unbelievable number of legendary people have worked and come through the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos, who has more money than God, refused to fund this after buying it. He took political stances that were pro-Trump that impacted his entire subscription base in and around D.C. And there are so many good people out of work by virtue of what happened with the Washington Post. You should read the columns from all the influential sports columnists around the nation. I mean, 3 or 4 of my friends are out at the Washington Post. And then there's the California Post. We talked about this weeks ago, the arrival. Rupert Murdoch, New York Post, decided to start a West Coast edition. So I went online, dug around, and navigated to finally get access to it. It's really hard to read because it's tabloid. It looks like the New York Post. I found it hard to navigate to find all the West Coast sports writers that they hired who covered the Dodgers or the Rams or NBA, whatever. Anyhow, you look at it, and the front page is tabloid sleazy, the layout. It's really got a New York twist and flavor to what we're covering. You know, grandfather rapes 10-year-old. Christ.
What?
Tabloid. I mean, tabloid. It's beyond.
What are they doing in sports?
Well, in sports, they're doing sports with a lot of opinions, and that's okay. But so the Rupert Murdoch thinks this is going to work, kind of like Jeff Bezos thought that was going to work when he bought the Washington Post. Yeah, and the other thing with the deadlines, yesterday's news tomorrow. It's like the LA Times.
Oh, yeah.
I get yesterday's news tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's so weak.
The logistics are tough.
Yeah, it really is. So anyhow, horrible day for those of us who've grown up in journalism with what happened in the Washington Post. All those good people put out of work. And obviously the California Post doesn't look like what I expected it to look like. But then again, it looks like the New York Post. And I bet there's some people got some opinions on that.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. I've done my job. I'm going to get up and go home. You do yours. Feel free, jump on board. Fans Forum chat box.
I got something to say here.
Oh, you have an opinion?
I do have an opinion here.
Is it worth listening to?
Yes, it is worth listening to.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, if I'm Tariq Skubal and I show up at spring training, I'm going to be kind of, PO'd. I mean, the Tigers lowballed him, and he proved to be right. And then why the heck are you spending money on Framber Valdez? Skubal's better than Valdez.
Sure.
So I don't know. There's some speculation that the Tigers are going to maybe now deal Skubal and move that contract somewhere else. I mean, there's, that's going to invite the rumors with the Dodgers and a lot of the other teams.
Either that, keep him and stay in the damn pennant race and sell out that stadium.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know what their budget is, but that's over $60 million a year wrapped up in 2 guys.
Yep.
Actually, $70 million. Washington Post. Now, who are the 2 guys that broke the Watergate case? What were their names?
Woodruff and... Oh, you asked me too quick.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that movie, All the President's Men.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this is a legit, tier 1 media outlet in America. And so, but everyone's trying to spin this as though it's, it's Bezos and it's Trump and all this other stuff. It's print journalism, and print journalism is getting killed across the country. And, when Bezos went in there and bought it, there were some that were saying that he wasn't necessarily pro-Trump. He was just being neutral on a lot of these things. They didn't take a stance on, an editorial on who to endorse for president.
But he did, because then he interfered with the editorial section, which had always been independent.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's his paper, Mm-hmm. But anyways, I think people are too quick to jump to the whole Trump-Bezos angle of, I just see this as further deterioration of print journalism. I mean, did the LA Times fold their sports department too?
No, it was the New York Times. The New York Times did that, but then they took all those people because they bought The Athletic, and all the New York Times people wound up going across the hallway, and they now all work for The Athletic website, which does great investigative journalism.
They do. But these guys that are really talented sports journalists at the Post, they're going to land somewhere else. If it's not in print, maybe they're going to be in an online publication or maybe on television. Maybe they're going to host a podcast. I mean, who knows? Yep. They're going to land on their feet. And this California Post thing, I don't know what to think of it. It's print journalism, and I just think that's a dead media channel.
But see, Bezos came in with the ideology, we're going to reinvent the Washington Post. print-wise and from digital, and he didn't do it. And then he interfered with their editorial section and started a mandate, you can't run this editorial piece, and it was about Trump. And he interfered with that, and the lashback in the District of Columbia and from their subscribers was unbelievable.
Okay, well, he paid the price.
Yeah, but why would you be so stupid?
Yeah, but you don't expect him to, like, pull money out of his pocket to subsidize the Washington Post to keep it afloat, do you?
Use your brilliance, though, to make the digital Washington Post what the New York Times and Boston Globe websites digitally are.
Yeah, I mean, now you're talking paywalls, and that's a whole other challenge, by the way. But I don't know. It's just the whole media landscape, really, in every media channel, television, radio, it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's different. But sad day. Sad day. A lot of good people. That's what we say. That's what we have opinions on. It's your turn. Did you bring a helmet? Should we duck under the table?
We probably should.
Are we going to regret ever developing fans forum? Give me some opinions here.
Yeah, there are a lot of them in here.
This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. You got projects, they've got materials. I'll just invite you, go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things that they have to offer. John, this segment belongs to you. We'll see how many people have got good things to say, right things to say, opinions out there in left field where you are right now. Go ahead.
Hey, left field is still in the ballpark, my friend. Okay, let's go here to Phenom. He goes, hey, with Giannis staying in Milwaukee, does that mean the Lakers are favorites to sign him in the offseason with all their cap room?
Hey, the Lakers don't have any cap room. Well, of course, LeBron will become a free agent, so there'll be $50 million will come off. But Giannis is not a free agent. Giannis got a multi-year deal. He signed a big contract. I think he's got at least 2 more years to go. And the Lakers don't have any assets to trade. Who on this Laker roster do you want that's a difference maker? And the Lakers don't have any number 1 picks. They've got one number 1, I think, through maybe 2031. So, you know, the Lakers who are they are right now, and I just whether or not they'll have cap space if LeBron leaves, but then there's a massive hole in your roster in terms of LeBron. It'll be intriguing to see what Milwaukee does because Giannis is now officially asked. He's been there a long time, and he says it's time for a change. What Milwaukee does, because that franchise is not the same any longer either.
See, Laker fan thinks that they're going to get every superstar.
It's like the Dodger syndrome.
Yeah, kind of, but they have. I mean, you know, you figure they got Chamberlain, they got Kareem, Magic, Shaq, Kobe. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just been loaded. I mean, so I don't know where Giannis is going to go. Again, you know, he had this love affair with Milwaukee. I could see him getting crushed by the paparazzi and all the Tinseltown.
Well, New York is really interested. I don't know if the Knickerbockers have the right mix of veteran players. Minnesota evidently was in at the last minute on him, but then Milwaukee kept asking for 2 of their frontline forwards, and they didn't like what else was on the Minnesota roster, and Anthony Edwards was not part of that conversation. Miami's got a lot of unique pieces, but I think he's going to be traded before the draft. Between the end of the regular season and start of the draft, he'll go somewhere, and there'll be a lot of number 1 draft picks will be part of the equation. Good question. Thanks for shooting a 3-point shot and hitting it.
Okay, let's go here to Bill. Talk about the Hall of Fame. And he says, the Belichick issue, not relevant to me for reasons way too long to explain here. Bottom line, I have always favored every sport Hall of Fame to center on players, not coaches, owners, or media people.
Yeah, but the only difference is all these other people impact the history of the sport. So why not just have them in separate categories? If there are great owners out there, and Kraft has been a great owner from a business standpoint and league officiating and replay and all the that's business side, just have the owner category. And then you can have a coaches category. And then you can have the contributors category, which, you know, could be assistant coaches, whomever. And, you know, the contributor could be NFL officials. It could be anybody. It could be an NFL general manager. You know, and then they have the players, the modern day era who's now eligible, the senior group that's eligible. So there's too many players and people lumped into one general thing with limitations to how many come out of that box that could be up for vote. So I think they need to redefine that.
Now, if they had all the categories split out the way you say, do you think that your good friend Chet Forty would have made the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
No, Chet was not a
No, but his innovation with Monday Night Football.
Oh, okay, if we're going to put him in a contributor category?
Yeah.
With Roone Arledge?
Yeah, all that.
Tagliabue?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that he would get in, but obviously he was creative juice behind what Monday Night Football became with Howard Cosell, Dandy Don, Frank Gifford. He was the one behind the scenes triggering all that. That might be a little bit of a reach, but he was great in the media, there's no doubt about it. But that category could cover a lot of different people who impacted the sport, not necessarily on the field with touchdowns and yards and all that.
Yeah.
So,
well, see, again, this is the debate. Is the Hall of Fame meant to be this very elite, snobby's being harsh, but this uber elite group of people that live on Cloud 9, or is it supposed to be a museum that tells the story of baseball?
Both.
But I think I flipped on this because I remember Don Sutton was the one that I just thought there's no way that guy belongs in the Hall of Fame because he was just sort of good, but never great. But he played a long time. He had the longevity. And now I've kind of been flipping on this. I'm thinking, yeah, those guys need to be part of it. I mean, what's the harm? You know?
It helps tell the story.
Yeah, and what's the harm of having all these other people in the Hall of Fame? You know, you might have to build a wing to the museum for the media wing. Jerry Coleman's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Well deserved, by the way.
Good point. Bill, thank you for joining us.
Okay, now this is a comment from Bo Bello, and it's kind of what you were talking about when you walked in the door. And he says, hey, 760 and 97.3 are boring. They only talk about Padres and Aztecs.
Landscape is so changed. It's crazy. Now, granted, the competition is really different. You know, I can jump in my car and I can punch up Sirius XM and I listen to all their sports channels. And, you know, I worked part-time for 3 years doing baseball talk on the Home Plate Baseball channel. It was just a marvelous experience. So, you know, Super Bowl week, I'm listening to those guys on the NFL radio channel. And, you know, I punched up the NBA channel while I was driving around today because those trades were coming so quick, and I'm addicted to obviously the MLB channel, and I dabble on the NHL channel. So there are alternatives. But here we are in San Diego, and I happened to punch up one of the stations today, and what they're talking about, nobody's at the Super Bowl. We used to go to the Super Bowl all the time, our talk shows. Nobody. What are they talking about? Not the Super Bowl. They're talking Padres spring training, which I guess is okay, but you get every hour of every day for the rest of your life to talk about. They're talking about where to get the best hamburgers in town. Guy talk. On my car radio, I want sports talk. I don't want to hear about movies and hamburgers and men's clubs, and some of that's part of what's on the air right now. It's just a different world. Different world. You can do what you want with your industry. Different world.
But my guess is that program managers are looking at stations around the United States that are having big success, and they're probably blending in a lot of, you know, guide content to intermingle with the sports content. But yeah, you know, it's a different world. It really is. But, you know, I would expect 97.3 to be talking a lot of Padres. That's the flagship station.
But they do every minute of every day.
Yeah, they do.
You know,
but that's their thing. I mean, that's what the fan base is all built. Ben and Woods, I mean, just they're really into the Padres.
Right. So we're going to ignore the Super Bowl. We're ignoring 26 trades in the NBA today. We're ignoring the Kings blockbuster trade, what the Aztecs just did in football. So we can talk about the backup first baseman of the Boston Red Sox that, maybe they should trade for him. What kind of freaking program? I'm sorry. That's one man's opinion.
San Diego is like a small town in a big city. You know, it just have a mentality of a small town. It's different here.
That's where we are. At least one guy out there agrees with me.
Okay,
it's not like me and the Loose Cannons and Chet Forty and Philly Billy and all these other guys that pioneered sports talk radio that was really good.
Back in the good old days.
Damn right.
Okay, these are two guys, but I'm going to put them in back to back. And this is first from Michael. Hey, Lee, he's your president also. And then Mr. Free TVG says, I like how you refer to him as your president, not our president. That's how I say it, too.
It's really interesting. I mean, the MAGA just goes crazy. Sends me emails through my website about how dare you, who are you, what he represents, bullcrap. And then the left is so silent. I don't understand why they're silent. Is there anybody wants to stand on my street corner and say What's gone on here is un-American, unpresidential, unconstitutional. Or am I the only one that's got the guts to stand up and say, this is awful? Now, granted, let's see, we're in February, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In November, pal, this sucker is going to change in the midterms. I firmly believe it. But I reserve the right, my First Amendment right, to say what I feel. So does he, even if his First Amendment rights sometimes come from left field, just like you do too. But you're going to give me my space to express my opinion.
Well, this is your show. I mean, so you say whatever the hell you want. I mean, it's your name right there on the top of the screen. You ever heard Bob Costas talk about Donald Trump?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, he just ripped him to shreds. So it's interesting to hear, people from other categories. Now, granted, at the Grammys, they were interviewing all the artists there, and everyone's got something to say, which you kind of wonder about how valuable their opinion is. So I don't know. In the end, I like that it's a little sprinkle of it here in an all sports show. And you do it only when it's relevant.
When it crosses the intersection of sports.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, I'll throw this sidebar out. Now, me, on Sunday, halftime, I'm going for the sub sandwiches and the shrimp.
Right.
Now, I know you're going to pay attention to Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny, yeah.
And you know why the NFL would bring in a Taylor Swift or a Bad Bunny or a Prince. It's to appeal to that demographic that really follows them. And they are unbelievably successful.
Well,
but,
yeah.
That being said, Bad Bunny, Hispanics, you think there's not going to be a political statement in the middle of his performance?
Oh, yeah.
That's going to appeal to everybody influential who's Hispanic? Because that's who he is. That's his great success story.
Yeah, I mean, well, in many ways, it's consistent with the messaging that the NFL has in the back of the end zone still, or on the back of the helmets, So in the end, this is just a spectacle. It's like the biggest event in America, the biggest TV viewership. And so why not have like a big time artist and old guys like us? We can learn about what the young kids are listening to. But, isn't there like an alternative halftime show with Kid Rock somewhere? I think I saw something about that.
There'll be 12 people that'll watch that. So I'll be very intrigued to see what he says, because there's going to be something politically that's going to come out appealing towards global Hispanic followers of him.
Oh, he will. Yeah, I mean, he's had a lot to say even at the Grammys, too.
Okay, next one.
Okay, let's go here to John. Hey, I see Jeff Bezos fired his sports department at the Washington Post. Guess he felt he couldn't beat the Athletic.
Well, he came in with all this glory that he was going to save and reinvent the Washington Post as a print edition. And it cost volumes to build a newspaper business and a success with all the employees, the reporters, the bureaus, and all that. And he came in with the ideology, I know how digital world works, and he didn't do it. And then he put his fingerprints into the middle of the editorial staff and the content, which then became a huge friction point nationwide, and the whole thing just fell apart. I was told hundreds of thousands of subscribers canceled digitally and with the print edition because of his interference in editorial content. And he said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to interfere. And he did interfere. Look what happened. And now a lot of good people lost their job.
I think they're making a mountain out of a molehill here. I mean, it is his paper, and so, I mean, do you think like CEOs and other media companies don't ever kind of insert their opinion or make some decisions on what's going to be on their paper or not, or their television station or not?
Historically, the editorial staff has always had independence. No. But we'll just whittle this down. At the end of the day, whether it is Washington Post or whether it is 690 or 1090, rest in peace, you need talent to produce content.
Oh, yeah.
And when you wipe out 300 of the 800 employees at the Washington Post, how are you going to produce the quality content that it used to produce? And all we need to do is circle back to the last couple people who are talking about sports talk radio. Look where it is now compared to what it used to be. And all of us at 690, 1090 got bought out by corporate.
But see, again, it's like radio and newspapers are kind of in that same category of older technology, right? Mm-hmm. And everything's kind of gravitating here. I mean, even like in the Trump made a big deal about being on a lot of podcasts so he can better connect with the young people. Mm-hmm. And so I think the media is shifting, and what we're doing is we're right there where our audience is.
Is Sports Talk Radio better now that 690 and 1090 are gone?
No, those are the glory days. I mean,
is the Washington Post better now that 300 people are gone?
See, but again, I don't read the Washington Post. I mean, obviously there's going to be people that do read that publication, but I'm just saying that print journalism is just getting shredded everywhere. Okay, so it's not just Bezos. It's a broader thing going on. Now, granted, is the Bezos story legit and worthy of discussion, but that's not the main reason. I mean, people are, shedding subscriptions, for the LA Times, for the San Diego Union Tribune. And really, the majority of their revenue comes from advertising more so than from subscribers. Mm-hmm. And frankly, the logistics, to your point, you said how it's yesterday's news tomorrow. That's what's happening with print journalism. Right. You can't produce the content quick enough.
But you need people to produce content, even if it's just for digital. And how do you do that when you're wiped out your entire Sports Talk staff who was all really good, or you wiped out 300 of the 800 employees?
It makes you wonder if with these categories like the Washington Post, do they really want to do sports?
Or news.
But they could legitimately cover what's going on in Washington, D.C., and that's not really sports. It's politics and government issues. So, I just think you don't necessarily have to have every media needs to be this comprehensive department store that covers all categories. Like when we were a kid, I wanted to read the sports section, the comics section. There were classified sections that I would always look at. Everything now is like parsed individually and targeted just for what people want. So I think this is just evolution.
Okay, we'll move on. I don't know if the followers want us to go deep into the philosophy of the media, but John got long-winded, and now he
I know. I have my own thoughts and opinions.
He hit my nerve, which really bothers me.
Listen to you. We need talent. We need talent to produce the content.
Go ahead.
Okay, Callan says, hey, afternoon, gents. Any thoughts on USD men's basketball?
They're pretty competitive, considering how wretched last season was. Steve Lavin has done a good job finding players, bringing them back in. Now, they got their doors blown off by St. Mary's. Obviously, they scared the hell out of Gonzaga the first time they played them. But in terms of elsewhere in the West Coast Conference, they're hanging in there. They're playing really well. So he's found a mix of young guys and a few veterans that transferred in that they've had themselves a good season. You see Gonzaga got beat last night.
Yeah,
on the road
by Portland.
University of Portland.
Yeah,
wow.
That's amazing.
Gonzaga just had an odd night and fell in a hole and couldn't climb out. I'm trying to think what the stat was. It's the first game since 2011, I believe was the number, that Gonzaga lost to a team with a losing record. And they got ambushed last night by the University of Portland. They're still really good. 22-2, I think it is now.
Yeah, the West Coast Conference from a basketball perspective is... you don't expect St. Mary's or Gonzaga to lose unless they're playing each other.
Yeah.
And even then, you'd think Gonzaga is going to win every one of those games. But, Steve Lavin's a good dude,
Mm-hmm.
and so you root for him to be successful, but it just seems like he just doesn't have the resources. Right. The whole NIL transfer portal kind of is just sort of rock the boat. And you just kind of wonder, is he just not really set up for success? Because he has the brain power to do this. But is it going to work?
Well, I think this past year, for the first time, they've really put together an NIL package that at least allows him to compete for some players. He knows everybody everywhere, so I think he's going to be able to get transfers and bounce backs. But it's a different atmosphere over at USD compared to big-time San Diego State, March Madness type basketball, and virtually anywhere else. And that whole conference is going to change again as soon as we get to the end of the basketball tournament. Gonzaga comes and joins the Pac-12.
And you know what else is going to happen is that UC San Diego is going to join the West Coast Conference. Right. So we're going to have two WCC teams here in San Diego. That's kind of cool, So, yeah, everything's changing, man.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, let's go to Phenom, and thank you for the donation. Hacksaw, remember when the National all-sports newspaper came out? I actually worked doing delivery while it lasted, which wasn't very long.
Well, I think it might have gone 9 to 11 months. The concept was phenomenal, but how do you get it into the hands of subscribers? And, of course, this was the national geez, this goes back a long time. This was pre-internet and pre-digital. It was a fascinating thing. I mean, the content was just great, and they hired great people. And for the 9 to 11 months, but at the end of the day, distribution, and, where do you sell it? You just sell it at airports? Do you have home delivery? Do you just sell it in stores? I don't know if the concept would have allowed it to continue on. Now we have The Athletic, which is flourishing, a lot of really great journalists, and that's all subscription. That's all internet access, but it's affordable. And everybody I know, myself included, I subscribe to the Athletic because I just like its diversity.
Yeah, I know Dennis Lynn went to work there.
Yes.
He's a local guy here that covered the Padres. So, yeah, I mean, that's a legit digital platform for sports journalism, and we're going to need more of that. I don't know. I'm sure the Athletic must have like a lot of podcast content and other kinds of things.
I think they're expanding in that, and they got a lot of great media guys who love newspapers to go to work for them.
Yeah, so that's the thing is that even with the Washington Post guys, the talented journalists are going to land somewhere else. Mm-hmm. We're not. It's not like we're going to lose that talent. They're just going to be presenting the talent in a different medium.
Okay, interesting comment. I had not thought about the National, but you compare the National and the Concept, which I thought was great. Timing wasn't right, to where the Athletic is now, which is owned by the New York Times. So it's fascinating.
Okay, let's go talk some Chargers football with Paul. Dolphins fan here. Hey, great hire for Mike McDaniel, but keep Mike's feet to the fire about running the ball, an area he is most efficient and his best expertise. McDaniel falls in love with the passing game, not his strong point. That fails without the run scheme, especially at the end of games. But he is not the head coach, just the offensive coordinator. So Harbaugh will make him run the ball. Mike's whole system depends on speed, but he creates better situations for weaker offensive linemen.
I would hope so, but you can't run the football with that offensive line, and that's going to have to be corrected in free agency, and that'll be the next storyline that we'll be talking about. When the free agent window opens, how does Joe Ortiz spend his money, which quality offensive center, what does he do at right guard, and they're going to get the bookend tackles back. So they should be able to run the football better. But at the end of the day, Mike McDaniel is tempo. Mike McDaniel is get the ball out of there. Mike McDaniel is motion. Mike McDaniel is mismatches. I think you're going to see a very, very different, and I don't know how I could say much more productive Justin Herbert because he's been so damn productive based on his talent. But I'm going to be fascinated to see. But they do have to fix that offensive line.
Love the whiz kids, man. Coming in here and kind of cooking up the sport, taking it to a new place. So I'm fired up for him. I can't wait for this to get started.
Yale nerd.
Yale nerd. Okay, let's talk some Dodgers, and this is with Nucka. He goes, hey, hating on success is a very bad trait to have. I refuse. Good job, Dodgers. They built their market, make tons with their TV deal alone. Everything they have done is within the rules. Players would take less just to play for them. Bravo. And I say that as a diehard Padres fan.
Organizationally, the Dodgers are tremendously successful. Historically, they're tremendously successful, drafting players, developing players, etc. And now their landscape's changed by virtue of the Pacific Rim and Ohtani and everything that's happened there. And in terms of corporate sponsorships, it's just a different time. So I'm not berating the Dodgers. What they're doing is legal. It's creative financing because they've got the resources to do it. What I'm concerned about is Major League Baseball has to work through this thing with the union and develop the floor to spending, which is going to make everybody much more competitive if they force everybody to spend $140 million rather than $60 million or $80 million. Because if there's $140 million out there, that means that level 2 free agent pitcher will go to Pittsburgh and will pitch well, and he'll get a payday because the Pirates have to spend, but he'll make Pittsburgh better, or he'll make Kansas City better, or make Miami and Tampa better because they have to spend. That's what they have to solve this issue. And of course, they got the other big issue is this whole regional TV thing. I was told by an executive that Major League Baseball that there's more than half the teams that are getting 50% less in TV revenue now because of the collapse of all the regional sports networks. And that's bad because that money goes into paying players.
Yeah. Yeah, Nucka's first sentence is the best one of all. Hating on success is a very bad trait to have. That's a good point. Now, we need to appreciate greatness. I mean, the Dodgers organization is legitimately great. I mean, I say that as a childhood Giants fan and now a Padre fan.
Going back to the 1940s.
Yeah, and the innovation with Jackie Robinson and Fernando Valenzuela. I mean, we can make a long list of Dodger history and accomplishments, and it's just off the chart. And now they've figured out a way to kind of outsmart everybody with TV revenue and everything else, and Japanese endorsements for Ohtani. But I do admit, though, that I fall into that trap. Like, even at the kickoff of the podcast, we're talking about the Super Bowl. And I think I made a comment along the lines of we saw too much of the Patriots and Tom Brady, and I want someone new. And that's a common vibe in sports, that we kind of get tired of teams winning all the time. But sometimes you got to say, man, these guys are good. I mean, they're legit. We should celebrate them for how good they are.
So you're apologizing for flipping the finger to anybody from area code 617.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think to a degree, yeah. I mean, I think it took me a while to really appreciate how great Tom Brady was.
Sure. And as many Kansas City Chief haters that are out there, appreciate and respect what they accomplished.
Yeah.
5 Super Bowls in a 10-year window. In the world, the landscape is so radically different to keep your teams together, injuries and free agency. 5 Super Bowls in 10 years, that's unbelievable.
Crazy. Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, so on behalf of everybody in the 617 area code in Boston, accept his apology.
Yeah, because, I grew up as a Joe Montana fan, and you don't want to admit that anyone's better than Joe Montana, but Tom Brady is better than Joe Montana.
But they're both great.
And once you kind of come to that conclusion, you have to say, all right, I give it up for these guys.
Move on.
All right, let's talk about LeBron James. This is from Selim. By the way, this comment was on Rumble. We have content on the Rumble platform as well. And he said, why do people hate on LeBron? He says lots of reasons. Number 1, he's an awful human being. Number 2, he gets bogus calls by the refs by crying like a bee. Number 3, he constantly moves into the lane as someone is shooting free throws. Number 4, he is a horrible player that gets the league to pad his stats with BS claims of rebounds, steals, and assists. Number 5, he has no bag whatsoever except charge the hole as he travels, either by taking advantage of the NBA's nonsense gather rule or his awful handle that often leaves the ball bouncing off his body in some goofy ass way or another.
Oh, that's a criticism. I'm not going to subscribe to the theory he's an awful human being.
No, he's not.
What he has done in Cleveland, what he's done in his hometown of Akron to help people is phenomenal. Has he got ego? Yeah. Has he got attitude? Yeah. Has he got talent? Yeah. Does he bend the rule book? Yeah. But he's no different than a hell of a lot of other guys in the NBA. So, why hate LeBron? My God, please tell me what your franchise is going to be when he vacates and retires, or he leaves and goes back to Cleveland next year for a farewell tour. What are the Lakers really going to be like then? I think you need to appreciate the greatness, and I don't buy the other junk, because that's happening on a lot of different rosters around the NBA.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy. I mean, and he has a good heart. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you're like, come on, LeBron, So there was a lot of people that commented on this particular segment, and a lot of Laker fans that are very anxious to see him retire or get traded to Cleveland for a farewell tour.
A lot of people of the opinion, way too much influence in player personnel decisions, and maybe there's some truth in that, but that's probably no different than other places around the NBA. I think players are running the league right now.
LeBron James. Okay, let's talk some PGA golf with what's his name, Ronak Genray. Hey, super glad Brooks Koepka is back in the PGA. All you naysayers should eat a big one. I think it is brave to Bookie to come back, and he should be applauded for it. Guy is super knowledgeable, respectful of the history of the game. Good for him. Hope other prominent stars follow his lead.
Well, at the end of the day, though, he violated his tour card. He jumped ship, just like Phil Mickelson jumped ship. Dustin Johnson jumped ship, disappeared off the radar. He came back because he didn't like the atmosphere and the environment that he was in, and he missed the PGA Tour. So he's back, and he paid a terrible price to get re-entry into the PGA Tour. Good man? Yeah. Really good career? Yes, etc. I feel really badly for Phil Mickelson because I know him and I got along with him and I interviewed him a bunch of times, and he's an outcast. He's an outcast, and he's like a man without a country now. He's a man without a hometown, and he was an integral part of the PGA Tour, an integral part of all things Torrey Pine. He was beloved, and now he's not beloved because he just took the money and ran and tried to influence a lot of other people to take the money and run over there. And I just can't get it out of my heart that these players took blood money from Saudi Arabia. And please, for those of you who aren't paying attention, Saudi Arabia equals 9/11 in that travesty.
There's English Premier League teams that are owned by Saudi Arabia.
Yes, Saudi money everywhere in sports.
It really is. I mean, you're seeing it all over the place. I think Man City, is owned by a Saudi family. I don't know if they're the Prince family or any.
Newcastle United, I think, was one of the first ones that became, and so they poured their money in within limitations because the English Premier League soccer has limitations, salary cap, expenditures, etc.
Now, granted, the blood money part of it is unique, but set that aside, if you will. There have been many cases of NFL players jumping ship to go to the USFL. We've had competitive leagues, but they usually find a way to kind of come back together, and it's not as bitter as we see here with golf.
I agree. And there's no solution to it at all. A year from today, we'll probably be talking about Bryson DeChambeau being the next one to come across the street.
I hope so.
Okay, move on.
Okay, let's talk about some Padres baseball. This is with JDS third. The Padres lead the league in guaranteed player contracts, excluding deferrals. Let that sink in. We tried to buy a championship and failed. Dodgers are not good at spending money, but all aspects of baseball operations. Owners should be taking lessons and spending more to be competitive instead of wanting a mediocre product across 30 teams while they pocket more profits.
Again, Florida spending. That changes the whole scope of Major League Baseball. I don't know that we'd ever get a hard salary cap, but we do have a luxury tax with teeth in it. But the Florida spending, if you're taking my revenue share money out of the commissioner's office, you got to spend to a floor. NFL has it, NBA has it, hockey has it. What's the key storyline there? Competitive balance. That's what we have to get to. That's what the union has to understand.
Yeah, but even with competitive balance, you're going to still see teams that are going to dominate.
Well, you'll also see teams that will fail because of bad baseball executive decisions. That's
right.
That's part of the game. But you can't have great success if you're allowing 18 or 19 of your teams to spend under $120 million. You can't.
Well, the Padres used to be one of those teams. And, I remember for the longest time as fans, we'd say, I just wish we had a rich owner that would spend money. And we finally got one, and they spent a hell of a lot of money, and people are angry that they spent too much money.
Well, we haven't gotten to a World Series, but the quality of the product has been phenomenal. Coupled with Petco Park, coupled with the atmosphere they created. I mean, it is a destination point. So it's been great for the community, but we're not there yet, and we haven't gotten to a World Series, and now the money thing has changed again with the ownership passing, and the franchise going to be put up for sale.
Yeah, there's been some movement on this ownership thing.
Well, there's supposedly 3 groups now that have met with the Seidler family. Joe LeCobb, there's another ownership group that owns Chelsea in the English Premier League, a guy out of Houston. There's a third ownership group that has Caribbean connections that also owns an English Premier League team that's had meetings. So the price tag is going to be steep. Peter Seidler bought the thing for $800 million. They're going to ask, I was told, 2.5 or 2.6 mil. 2.6 bill.
Yeah, right on. It's nice to see some big time money coming in, making a play. We're not going to get who was the guy that bought the Padres and put it on a layaway plan?
Well, Jeff Morad.
We're not going to have that again.
Not going to get Tom Werner and the terrible 15.
Oh God. So. Those were dark times.
Oh, really bad.
Okay. Let's talk Aztec basketball. This is with Matthew. Hey, they still have to come to the fire pit in Albuquerque. I'm from ABQ, and I can't wait to see them burn on February 28th. Go Lobos.
Well, will they be totally healthy? Can they get everybody back? And, they're a little bit dinged up right now, but this team has grown. I wrote a column in the middle of the week. I'm not sure everybody agreed with what I wrote about San Diego State, but that's why you should read my one man's opinion column, because I cover everything. But my biggest concern is Miles Bird. He is just so hot and so cold, and they desperately need him. The injuries, for Guath, we can't control that. That's just part of the game. But I see great growth. My goodness, the middle of that roster and the young kids, there are spurts where you say, wow, these kids have arrived. Other nights, maybe they disappear, but somebody else steps up. But the Bird, they need Miles Bird to be the great Miles Bird if they're going to be in March Madness and go anywhere.
Well, was it the last game or the Utah State game? He didn't score a lot, but he had 8 rebounds in the last game against Wyoming, and he's
Wyoming.
making.
They got no
but
players.
Still, but he makes a difference in different ways. But I hear you. I mean, they need to play better if they're going to go into the pit and win in Albuquerque. That's hella hard. Yeah. So I think this could shape up to be a nice February for them. Especially if Harrington and Guath come back. I mean, there's just so much talent on this roster.
They got such a mixture of really good players. Some of them are becoming young veterans, and that what Compton has become as a second-year player. Wow.
You get that guy the ball in the paint and just get out of the way.
That's right.
This guy is just kind of slam that ball down. And, it's funny. You'll see him on the court, and on one level you think of him as this big, tough guy. But then another time you kind of look at him on screen and you can tell he's still a young man, what I mean? And they're all going through this maturation process.
But they've got such a collection of young people, from the good nights that Taj DeGorville has to Tay Simmons. I mean, we see flash and say, holy cow, doing this at this level at such a young age?
Yeah. Wow. And then, Reese Dixon Waters, Ziegler was saying that he's probably the best player in the Mountain West right
he's
now.
grown into that role. And again, that's a veteran. That's a 6-year player who's now become more of a complete player. He's much tougher than he ever was when he first got here from USC, and now he's hitting all kinds of shots.
Well, when he plays, he looks different. He part of it,
bigger.
He's bigger. He's more mature. You can see the way he moves, the way he handles the ball. There's an NBA maturity to him. And then, in Ziegler's article, he talked about how he likes to take the shot off the bounce, that he likes to take the shot with a guy in his face, doing a fadeaway mid-range, but he's making those shots.
Yeah. Can they go deep into mid-March, March Madness? Only if Miles Bird is producing baskets.
Yeah.
He does all those other intangible things, and I totally agree with you about distribution of balls, hands, rebounds, block shots. His resume's got a lot of stuff on it, but he can't be 3 for 12, or he can't be no baskets in 31 minutes.
Yeah, he's got to be better, but I think this could be a really nice ending to the season. Okay. Right now, they're in a little bit of a down period on their schedule. It's going to be an easier run for the next week or so. And then, boom, here we go.
New Mexico, you join us again. Thank you.
Okay, can we squeeze in this slap shot one? Oh, that's too much content. We'll save that one for next time. Let's go here to, let's talk Aztec football. Now, this was a comment that came in about a month or so ago, and this is from Surf City Bill. He says, Hacksaw, don't get down on the San Diego State players. A 20-year-old kid with almost no chance to reach the NFL is being offered a huge payday for 1 or 2 years before he rejoins the real world and gets a regular Joe's salary. I wish I had 6 or 7 figure bank account immediately leaving college.
I guess I agree with part of that. But by the same token, you're jumping ship. This thing is growing. They're trying to grow it. They need quality players and people to grow it. And it's your alma mater. Instead, some of these guys just make it a money grab. Now, not too many San Diego State kids, but there are so many Division I players who have been 4 schools in 4 years. You kidding me? That's all a payday. And that to me is a turnoff. But I early on, again, you need to read my column this morning, because I wrote about the history of Sean Lewis on my One Man's Opinion column on the website. Read that. At the end of the day, too many people jump ship without giving this coach an opportunity to see what this thing was going to be all about. And I grant you, the first year was rocky, but that's because so many people left. Second year was better because they were able to keep a bunch of people with new NIL money. But then the third year, he got dinged again. And now, like I said, the list I got, he's got 51 new players as of this morning. Man, it's like coaching an expansion team. But players need to trust this guy. I've been so impressed with his sales pitch and about what's important, how they care, how they act. I've just really been impressed with the guy.
Yeah. But you said that they kept like 80% of their guys that were at risk.
21 of 25 stayed.
Yeah, so that's a hell of a retention rate.
But they lost virtually every star player on defense.
Is Chris Johnson going to get drafted in the first round?
We'll see. We'll see what the combines are. He'll get drafted, but who knows? Hey, listen, we hope you've enjoyed this podcast. It has been spectacular. We're here Mondays. We're here Thursdays. Hacksaw says Seattle wins the Super Bowl. John Riley says
Seattle wins the Super Bowl.
Oh, we're looking for somebody who wants to Bet New England, and then you can buy us clam chowder. Podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers. Been in business for more than 100 years. Enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. We will see you Monday at 1:30. John, have yourself a great sports weekend.
Yeah, Super Bowl week.
And you have a great sports weekend, too. Thanks for being part of Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.